Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt suffocated, even though no one said a word? Or been around someone who smiled kindly, yet left you exhausted, anxious, or strangely empty? What if it wasn't about the words they said, but the unseen vibration that clung to them like invisible smoke? What if your exhaustion isn't just being sensitive, but a sacred alarm that your energy field is being pierced? You are not merely a physical being. You are an electromagnetic presence, vibrating, radiating, absorbing, reflecting, and every encounter is a dance of fields. Tonight we enter that silent space where your soul whispers and the unseen touches your essence. Let's journey into the realm of energy and uncover why being near some people heals you, while others silently drain you to the bone. Imagine your body as a vessel, but your being as a field. Invisible, constantly humming, sensitive. This is your personal energy field, your auric frequency, your spiritual boundary, your emotional skin. Every day we brush up against others, not just physically but energetically. We walk through crowds, enter offices, open phones filled with emotions not ours, and somehow you feel it. The subtle heaviness after meeting someone angry, the calm that enters after a warm hug, the invisible ick that clings after certain conversations. These are not random, these are signs. Your body is wise, and your energy is whispering. Yet no one taught you this language. In a world obsessed with the seen, the unseen becomes the wound. But what if we began to see with different eyes? What if you are a frequency, and every interaction is a tuning? Today we dive into the mystery of personal energy fields, what they are, how they work, and why some people make you feel like the sun, while others eclipse your very being. This is not about blame, it's about awareness, about returning to the sacred responsibility of your own energetic sovereignty. Part 1. The Energetic Anatomy. You are more than flesh. You have been told that you are a body, that your essence is skin and bone, muscle and blood, a mass of neurons firing electric impulses inside a cranium of calcium. But that is only the beginning. The body is your instrument, not your identity. It is the visible vessel of an invisible ocean. The flesh is real, yes, but it is not the whole truth. The deeper truth is this: you are vibration wrapped in form. You are not simply a chemical process, you are an electromagnetic event, a field, a pulse, a song. All ancient wisdom traditions knew this. Long before the rise of laboratories and scalpels, sages sat beneath stars and closed their eyes, not to escape the world, but to enter it more fully. What they found across continents and civilizations was the same revelation spoken in different tongues, that we are not just beings of matter, but beings of energy, subtle, radiant, interwoven with the cosmos itself. In India, the rishis spoke of prana, the sacred life force, flowing through channels called nadis and gathering at spinning centers known as chakras. In China, masters of Tao mapped qi, the invisible essence moving along meridians, nourishing every organ and emotion. In Egypt, the priests taught of the ka, the vital spiritual double of the body. The Kabbalists described the aura in layers of soul, nefesh, ruach, neshama, each vibrating at different levels of consciousness. And what of science? In recent decades, the veil between the metaphysical and the measurable has begun to thin. The heart has been shown to generate an electromagnetic field detectable several feet beyond the skin. The brain, too, emits waves that change with mood and intention. Instruments now detect shifts in human energy fields during meditation, prayer, trauma, and healing. The so-called aura, once relegated to mystics, is now being explored under names like biofield, subtle energy, or informational frequency architecture. Yet these discoveries are only confirmations of what the soul has always whispered. You feel this truth when you walk into a room and instantly sense tension, though no words were spoken. You feel it when someone enters your space, and their very presence either calms your breath or tightens your gut. You know it when you hug a loved one and feel warmth that is not just skin to skin, but soul to soul. This is energy. This is your real anatomy. Let's visualize. Imagine your physical body standing at the center of a luminous sphere. This sphere is not metaphor, it is your living field. It extends outward in every direction, often 3 to 6 feet beyond your skin, sometimes more. This is your auric field. It is composed of light, emotion, memory, intention. It changes color and texture with your thoughts. It remembers pain. It records joy. It signals trust or alarm before a word is said. Now imagine that this field is made of layers. The first, closest to the body, holds your physical vitality. The next vibrates with emotion. Further out lies the mental layer, your thoughts, your beliefs. Beyond that, the spiritual strata, the blueprint of your soul, the record of your purpose. All of it is alive. All of it is listening. When these layers are clear, balanced, and harmonized, you feel strong. You feel yourself. But when trauma strikes or even a subtle wound forms through daily life, cracks appear in the field. Like a musical instrument knocked out of tune, your energy vibrates differently. Sometimes faster, sometimes sluggish, sometimes fragmented. The field becomes porous. What isn't yours slips in. What is yours leaks out. This is when you start to feel off, but can't explain why. You become irritable or numb, heavy, tired, maybe even sick. And yet the medical tests show nothing. The cause is invisible because it resides in the energetic body, not the physical one. Now let's talk about interaction. Every time you meet someone, your field interacts with theirs. This is not poetic, it is physics. Two magnetic fields overlap. They merge, resonate, or repel. Sometimes they harmonize, sometimes they collide. Sometimes one field dominates and overtakes the other. That's when you leave an encounter feeling strangely drained, like something was taken. That is not your imagination. That is a violation of the energetic boundary. We all have had these experiences. Being around someone who constantly complains leaves us feeling suffocated. Being near someone peaceful makes our own nervous system relax. Even a child, before they learn language, can sense who is safe and who isn't. It's because the field speaks first. The field is the language beneath language. There are those whose fields are chaotic, filled with anger or unresolved wounds. When you come into their space, their energy seeks equilibrium, often unconsciously drawing from yours to stabilize themselves. This is not always malicious. In fact, it's often automatic, but the effect is the same. You feel depleted. You gave something, without consent, without awareness. Then there are those whose fields are radiant, people who heal just by entering the room. They don't need to speak. Their energy holds coherence. It reminds your own system how to return to harmony. You feel lighter, clearer, as if your soul had been exhaled. These people are not special. They are simply present, grounded, attuned to their own field and therefore to yours. So how do you begin to sense your own energetic body? Start by closing your eyes. Sit still. Bring your attention not to your skin, but to the space just beyond it. Breathe slowly. Imagine your field like a soft light extending outward. Notice if it feels jagged, smooth, warm, or tight. Can you feel where your field ends and the world begins? That boundary is sacred. It is your home. It is the gate to your soul. And this is where your power begins. Because awareness is the first act of sovereignty. When you learn to feel your energy, not just your body, you begin to reclaim yourself. You begin to protect what is sacred. You begin to move through the world not as a victim of energetic collisions, but as a conscious conductor of vibration. This is not mystical nonsense. This is the forgotten language of aliveness. This is what ancient sages, healers, and seers across time understood deeply. To master your energy is to master your life. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how every soul emits a frequency, and why learning to read this language may be the most important skill your spirit can remember. Part 2. Every soul emits a frequency. If you could step outside your physical body and listen, not with ears but with awareness, you would hear something extraordinary. A vibration, a tone, a pulse unique to you, humming softly beneath your thoughts. This is not metaphor, this is reality. Every soul emits a frequency. You are not merely thinking your life, you are vibrating it. Just as each musical note carries a precise vibration, each person too carries a frequency, a complex resonance composed of emotional patterns, intentions, beliefs, memories, and the depth of presence within. You are not just broadcasting through voice or action, you are broadcasting constantly, silently, through your state of being. In the quantum world, everything is energy, everything. Even the chair beneath you, the air around you, the body you inhabit. But beyond that, energy is organized by frequency. Low-frequency energies tend to contract, feel heavy, dense, or chaotic. High-frequency energies expand, feel clear, open, and luminous. Love, joy, gratitude, they vibrate at high frequencies. Fear, shame, anger, they resonate lower, more slowly, more heavily. Not because they are bad, but because they carry more friction, more stuckness, more dissonance. You can feel this. Have you ever stood beside someone in deep grief, not even speaking, and felt your own chest grow tight, your mood shift downward, your thoughts slow? That's frequency in action. The field of sorrow gently pulling yours into resonance with it. Or perhaps you've encountered someone laughing from the belly, radiating joy, and suddenly, without knowing why, you felt lighter, more free, like your soul could breathe again. That too is frequency. Their vibration gently tuning yours upward, like a singing bowl awakening your cells. Animals do this effortlessly. They don't listen to what you say, they feel what you emit. Children too. They pick up on the unspoken, the unfiltered. They instinctively recoil from chaotic energy and instinctively relax into presence. Because before we were taught to doubt our knowing, we were fluent in the language of energy. So what determines your frequency? Primarily, it is shaped by your state of consciousness. Not just moment-to-moment emotions, but the deeper currents of belief, intention, and soul alignment. When you are aligned with truth, with love, with clarity, your frequency is coherent. It flows like a melody. When you are fragmented, living in conflict with your values, denying pain, or hiding from yourself, your field reflects that dissonance. And yet, most people are walking around completely unaware of the signal they're sending. They wonder why others avoid them, why conversations turn tense, why relationships feel heavy, never realizing that their unresolved inner chaos is playing like static in the energetic space around them. This is why energy hygiene matters as much as physical hygiene. You shower to clean your body, but do you cleanse your field? Do you clear the emotional residue of conflict, of overstimulation, of constant digital noise? Because everything you consume visually, emotionally, spiritually affects your vibration. Every thought you repeat is a tone you sustain. Every wound you refuse to feel becomes a distortion in the field. But here's the beautiful truth. Your frequency is not fixed. It can rise, it can be attuned. Like a stringed instrument, it can be tuned back into harmony. Through stillness, through breath, through truth, through choice. Start by noticing what lowers your vibration. Certain conversations, environments, media, even foods, some leave you feeling dull, depleted, or restless. That's your frequency reacting. Your soul saying, this is not compatible with my resonance. And then, notice what elevates you. What brings a sense of spaciousness, of clarity, of subtle joy. These are not just preferences, they are guidance systems. Invitations to align. You might ask, how do I know my frequency is rising? You'll feel it in subtle ways. Your thoughts become clearer, your body lighter. Reactions soften. Synchronicities increase. You begin to feel in flow, as if the world is responding to your inner music. Relationships shift, some fall away gently, others deepen without effort. And perhaps most profoundly, you stop feeling drained around others. Because when your field is strong and coherent, it's less likely to collapse into someone else's chaos. Instead, it becomes a stabilizing presence. You begin to influence the room, rather than being swallowed by it. It's not about perfection, not about being high vibe all the time. That's spiritual bypassing. Authentic frequency work is not about escaping the dark. It's about becoming honest with what you're holding, feeling it fully, and transforming it into light. It's about owning your field, moment to moment, with humility and presence. You don't need to be a monk in a cave. You just need to be here. Honest. Awake. Willing to choose again. Willing to breathe in the moment and ask yourself, what am I vibrating right now? And in that question lies your power, because the world does not respond to your words. It responds to your frequency. So the next time you feel exhausted around someone, pause. Before you blame them or yourself, feel. Ask, what frequency are they carrying? What am I matching or resisting? What in me is being activated? This isn't about judgment, it's about mastery. When you know that every soul is vibrating, you begin to meet people not just through personality, but through presence, through energy, through soul, and perhaps in doing so, you begin to reclaim your own. Part 3, Resonance and Dissonance. When fields collide, everything in this universe is vibration, but not all vibrations sing in harmony. Some create music, others create noise. When two energetic fields come into proximity, yours and another's, a silent conversation begins. You may not hear it with your ears, you may not see it with your eyes, but your soul feels it, instantly, unmistakably. This is the law of resonance and dissonance, a sacred physics that governs every connection, every relationship, every quiet magnetism or subtle repulsion you've ever experienced. It is why you can meet a stranger and feel inexplicably at home, or why you sit across from someone you've known for years and suddenly feel like you're breathing through glass. The shift isn't in the words, it's in the vibration. It's in the way your energy responds to theirs. Resonance is what happens when two frequencies align, when they move in rhythm, in subtle echo, in agreement. It feels like ease, like flow. There is no resistance, no effort. You feel seen without having to explain. You relax, you trust. That sense of clicking with someone, of knowing without speaking, of feeling lighter just by being in their presence, that is resonance. Their field doesn't force yours to change, it invites it to expand. It amplifies your clarity, it reflects your light, it supports your nervous system without demanding your energy. Resonance is nourishment. It is music. But not all encounters nourish. Some disturb, some confuse, some leave you questioning your worth, your clarity, your peace. These are moments of dissonance. Dissonance occurs when two energetic fields vibrate at incompatible frequencies. One may be turbulent, the other still. One may be grounded, the other scattered. When these energies meet, there is no alignment, only static. Your heart might start to race, your thoughts might become cloudy, your breath might shorten without cause. You walk away feeling drained, tense, or unsettled. Not because anything visible happened, but because the invisible world was in conflict. Their energy was speaking a language your soul didn't recognize, or no longer resonated with. This is why you can walk into a perfectly decorated room and still feel deeply unwelcome. It's not the lighting or the decor, it's the frequency of the people. It's the dissonance. And sometimes that dissonance isn't just about them. Sometimes it's the reflection of an unresolved piece of yourself. An old pattern, a memory, a wound still vibrating beneath your awareness. Certain people stir discomfort in us not because they're toxic, but because their energy resonates with a part of our shadow we've yet to face. That's why the same person can feel like a gift to one soul and a storm to another. The field doesn't lie, it only mirrors. Relationships, especially the deep, karmic, soulful ones, are not always about harmony. Sometimes they are about friction, sacred friction, evolutionary dissonance, growth disguised as discomfort. Not all resonance is sweet, not all dissonance is poison. The real key is presence. Can you feel the difference between a frequency that challenges you to rise and one that drags you into decay? Can you tell the difference between discomfort that awakens and discomfort that wounds? The spiritual mistake many make is to label resonance as good and dissonance as bad, but both are mirrors, both are teachers. Resonance affirms what is alive and true within you. Dissonance reveals what is changing, what no longer fits, what is begging to be healed. One whispers, "Yes, this is you." The other cries, "You've outgrown this." The danger lies not in dissonance itself, but in ignoring it. When you remain in relationships, environments, or energies that your soul has outgrown out of guilt, obligation, or fear, you suffer. Your field dims, you begin to shrink. Because the truth is, your vibration is sacred, and every time you abandon that truth to maintain a dissonant connection, you fracture your own energy. To navigate this landscape consciously, you must begin with awareness. Start observing how your energy shifts around others. Don't analyze, just notice. Does your breath deepen or shallow? Does your chest feel open or tight? Do you feel expanded or contracted, energized or depleted? The body always knows. It is a perfect instrument, echoing the silent vibrations that language cannot reach. Honor what it tells you. From that awareness, you reclaim choice. You are not a victim of frequency, you are a sovereign field. If someone's presence brings chaos, you do not need to absorb it. You can witness without merging. You can be compassionate without being consumed. And when needed, you can walk away, not with resentment, but with reverence for your own path. But perhaps the most beautiful truth of all is this: your field is not static. It grows, it softens, it learns. There are times when you meet someone and feel dissonance, but through healing, presence, and evolution, the resonance begins to emerge. Relationships can evolve in vibration. Souls can learn to sing together. But only if both are willing to tune, not to each other, but to their own highest frequency. Because only when you are attuned to your own truth can you truly harmonize with another. In the end, we are all frequencies, notes in the cosmic song. Some notes blend into symphonies, others belong to different chords, different keys. The point is not to force harmony where none exists. The point is to know your sound, to honor your vibration, to surround yourself with those whose presence helps your soul sing louder, not shrink quieter. Resonance is not comfort, it's recognition. Dissonance is not danger, it's direction. Listen deeply, trust what you feel. Walk where the vibration aligns. And remember, you are not here to endure energy that drains you. You are here to remember who you are and let your frequency lead the way. Part 4. The Energy Vampire Phenomenon. Not all who harm your energy do so with teeth. Most come with smiles, with familiarity, with stories that echo your own. They don't bite, they lean, and lean, and lean, until your field bends, your light dims, and your body feels like a house whose electricity has been siphoned away in the middle of the night. We call them energy vampires. But they are not monsters. They are often people we love, people we want to help, people who live in pain so long they've forgotten how to generate light of their own. So they borrow yours, unconsciously, repeatedly, until your soul starts whispering something is wrong. The term energy vampire may sound dramatic, but the phenomenon is deeply real, deeply human, and deeply spiritual. It doesn't require malice, it only requires misalignment. You see, there are those who, due to trauma, fear, or disconnection, have lost their internal energetic compass. They feel empty, not because they're evil, but because they're ungrounded. And emptiness is hungry. It reaches, it clings, it drains, not to punish you, but to soothe itself. The energy vampire doesn't always intend to harm. In fact, they're often unaware, but their presence demands your light, your time, your listening, your care. And over time, you notice the symptoms. You're always tired after seeing them. You feel emotionally foggy, anxious for no reason, drained even when they say nothing negative. You feel responsible for their happiness. You feel guilty if you don't respond. You're constantly the strong one while they remain the wounded, the needy, the just going through something that never seems to end. These patterns can appear in many forms. The chronic victim whose life is always a tragedy, and you're always the therapist. The passive manipulator who never asks directly but makes you feel like saying no is betrayal. The attention magnet who turns every situation back to themselves. The drama generator who thrives on chaos and pulls you into emotional whirlpools. The insecure soul who constantly compares, competes, or needs reassurance and leaves you second-guessing your joy. All of these are not just behaviors. They are energetic strategies, unconscious ones, designed to fill a void that cannot be filled by others. But why do they affect you so deeply? Because your field is open, especially if you are an empath, a healer, a spiritual seeker. You are built to feel. You are sensitive by design. You read between the lines. You hear what's not spoken. And in that gift lies the danger. When you feel someone's pain, your instinct is to help, to carry, to fix. But spiritual maturity asks something different. It asks you to feel without fusing, to witness without bleeding, to stand in compassion without collapse. The truth is, you are not responsible for anyone else's frequency. You can support, you can reflect, but you cannot vibrate for another. And when you try, when you hand over pieces of your energy just to soothe someone else's storm, you pay, quietly, deeply, and eventually your soul begins to withdraw from your own life. Recognizing energy vampires is not about blaming others. It's about honoring your own field. Because some people are not malicious, they're just energetically unconscious. They don't know they're draining you. They don't even know they're drained. But your body does. Your energy knows. And that's what matters. So what do? First, name it. Not out loud, not with accusation, but inside your sacred awareness. Acknowledge when someone consistently leaves you depleted, when their presence feels like a weight, when you leave interactions feeling smaller, quieter, confused. Don't rationalize, don't spiritualize it away, just notice. Second, return to your center. Reconnect with your own field. Visualize it. Breathe into it. Reclaim your boundary. Energetic vampires thrive in blurred lines. They don't knock on doors, they seep through the cracks. So seal the cracks, not with walls, but with clarity, with choice. Third, set limits. Not just verbally, but vibrationally. Reduce time, reduce access, reduce your energetic availability. You are not cold, you're not cruel, you are sacred. And sacred things are not left unguarded. You don't need to explain, you don't need to defend. You only need to choose. Finally, heal the part of you that allowed the drain. Because energy vampires don't just find you randomly, they often resonate with a hidden belief inside you. That love must be earned, that you must be useful to be valued, that your worth is tied to how much you give, carry, sacrifice. These beliefs leak energy. They attract imbalance, and when you heal them, something profound happens. You no longer magnetize drain, you magnetize mirrors. You find people who nourish, who reflect, who energize. You find soulmates, not soul holes. The most dangerous energy vampire is not a person. It's a pattern, a belief, a wound. The person is just the messenger, the mirror. But once you see it, once you feel it in your bones, you awaken a new field, one that does not bleed itself to prove love, one that does not shrink to be safe, one that does not dim to be accepted. You become a sovereign frequency. And that is the end of unconscious drain. So if you're tired around someone, pause. Ask not just what are they doing, but what am I allowing? And if the answer is too much, then let that be your awakening. You were not born to be a charger for broken batteries. You were born to shine, to love, to give, but never at the cost of your own light. Vampires fade in the presence of awareness, of boundaries, of inner clarity. Let your energy rise, let your fields speak. Let the sacred fire of your truth burn through every cord of obligation and guilt that once held you hostage. You are not food for the starving. You are the flame that teaches others to burn. Part 5. The Sacred Empath. Blessing or burden? There are those who don't just hear words, they hear the silence behind them. Those who feel the room before they enter it, who sense a storm in someone's smile, who absorb sorrow like breath not because they choose to, but because they were born with a nervous system tuned to the whispering world. These are the empaths, the sacred feelers, the intuitive bridges between emotion and energy. If you are one of them, you know. You've always known. You felt different, not because of how you looked, but because of what you sensed. As a child, you couldn't explain why certain people made your stomach ache, or why crowded places left you dizzy, or why you cried not only for yourself, but for everyone else too. While others shrugged off conflict, you carried it home in your chest. While others laughed at pain, you knelt beside it. Not because you were weak, but because you were wired to feel the undercurrents most people ignore. Being an empath is not a personality trait, it's a vibrational sensitivity, a heightened perception of subtle energies. Your field is porous by design. It reaches, it receives, it reads beyond the obvious. You notice body language shifts, tonal inflections, the spaces between words. You feel when someone is hurting, even when they swear they're fine. You intuit truth not from facts, but from frequency. That is your gift. Your sight is energetic, your knowing, instinctive. Your empathy, a sacred technology of the soul. But here's the paradox. What makes you gifted can also become your burden. Because when no one teaches you how to discern what's yours and what's not, your field becomes a sponge. You soak in everything. The anxiety in the hallway, the sorrow in your friend's voice, the hidden rage in a stranger's posture. You begin to confuse their energy with your own. You wake up feeling heavy and don't know why. You feel moods shifting in your body and blame yourself for emotions that were never truly yours. This is the silent suffering of the untrained empath, carrying pain without knowing how to release it, confusing compassion with responsibility and mistaking absorption for love. You see, in a world that rewards emotional detachment, the empath is often shamed for being too sensitive, told to toughen up, to stop overreacting, to grow thicker skin. But what the world calls sensitivity, the soul calls truth. You were never meant to harden, you were meant to awaken. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is resonance. It is the soul's way of saying feel everything and then choose what to carry. But no one ever taught you the second half. You were shown how to feel, but not how to protect. You were shown how to give, but not how to ground. So you became tired, fragile, overwhelmed, not because you are broken, but because your gift has not yet been honored as sacred. And so, to every empath listening now, hear this with the full gravity of your soul. You were never meant to absorb everything. You were meant to read the room, not become the room. You were meant to witness pain, not host it. Your role is not to fix, to carry, or to bleed for others. Your role is to feel deeply and respond wisely. Empaths are not here to heal by depletion. They are here to mirror presence, to hold space, to awaken truth in others simply by staying rooted in their own vibration. But to do that, they must remember sensitivity requires sovereignty. So how does a sacred empath protect their field? The first step is recognition. Begin to notice when your mood shifts in the presence of others. Ask yourself, is this mine? You'd be amazed how often the answer is no. What you feel may be echo, not origin. Symptom, not source. Learn to pause before you react. Ground your energy before you merge. Anchor into breath before you listen. Second, set energetic boundaries, not from fear but from love. A closed heart is not protection. A clear field is. Visualize your energy like a golden sphere around you, soft yet strong. Let it filter what comes in. Let it release what is not aligned. This isn't about building walls, it's about preserving the frequency of your truth. Third, cleanse regularly. Your field holds residue, just like your skin. After intense conversations or public spaces, take time to clear. Salt baths, grounding walks, breathwork, and intentional solitude are not luxuries for you. They are necessities. They reset your system, they return you to yourself. Fourth, give from overflow, not depletion. When your cup is full, your energy heals. When your cup is empty, your giving wounds you. Learn to say no without guilt. Learn to say yes only when your body expands, not contracts. Love is not measured by sacrifice, it is measured by presence, and presence requires energy. Guard it fiercely. Finally, transmute. The empath's gift is not just absorption, it is alchemy. You can feel the pain of the world and still choose joy. You can sense the sorrow of another and still hold peace. The key is not detachment, it is discernment. You feel everything so you can transform it, through art, through service, through stillness, through truth. Your emotions are not chains, they are currents. Learn to swim, not sink. You are a sacred bridge between worlds, the visible and invisible, the felt and the spoken. You are the healer, the mirror, the lighthouse. But even lighthouses need tending. Even light must rest. So to all empaths who have carried too much for too long, lay it down. Not your gift, but the guilt, the burden, the belief that you must suffer to serve. You don't. You never did. Your gift was never about pain. It was always about light. And when you learn to stand in your own light, fully, unapologetically, you don't just survive as an empath. You thrive. You become medicine, not by saving others, but by remembering yourself. You are not too sensitive, you are exquisitely aware, and that awareness, when rooted in love, becomes your greatest power. Part 6. Toxic entanglement. When energies enmesh, there's a difference between connection and entanglement. One nourishes, the other consumes. One allows two souls to walk beside each other in freedom. The other binds them in invisible threads that slowly drain life from both. Not all closeness is love. Not all intensity is truth. Sometimes what feels like destiny is a mirror of unhealed wounds. Two energy fields fusing, not from wholeness but from fear. This is toxic entanglement. The moment when energies enmesh so deeply, so unconsciously, that one soul begins to lose the sound of its own frequency. It often starts innocently. A relationship, a friendship, a bond that seems magnetic. There is chemistry, synchronicity, a sense of recognition. I've known you before. And maybe you have. Many soul entanglements are karmic echoes, unfinished patterns seeking resolution. But what we often call connection is sometimes just mutual trauma saying, I see you. You hurt where I hurt. You break where I break. Your chaos matches my emptiness. Your need matches my fear of abandonment. And together we mistake this magnetic friction for intimacy. In toxic entanglement, the lines blur. Your emotions are no longer your own. You begin to feel their pain as if it were in your bones. Their moods dictate your peace. Their silence becomes your anxiety. You find yourself constantly trying to regulate their energy, cheering them up, calming them down, managing their chaos, while slowly abandoning your own center. You become a spiritual caretaker, an emotional buffer. You speak for both of you. You feel for both of you. You carry what they never asked you to carry. But you never realized you had a choice. And then the fusion begins. Your energy fields start to wrap around each other, not in harmony, but in codependency. You lose the boundary between where you end and they begin. You find yourself addicted to their approval, or terrified of their absence. You begin walking on energetic eggshells, adjusting your tone, your truth, your needs, just to maintain the illusion of connection. But deep inside, your soul is whispering, "You're disappearing." Toxic entanglement is rarely obvious. It hides in love, it dresses itself as loyalty, it mimics devotion. You say, "But we've been through so much," as if history is a valid reason to stay in energetic captivity. You say, "They need me," as if your worth depends on being needed. You say it's complicated, when really, it's just entangled. And here's the deeper truth. No soul is meant to carry another. We are not meant to merge in order to matter. We are meant to meet, to mirror, to grow, and sometimes to part. Entanglement is a teacher. It shows you the parts of yourself you've outsourced, the places where you abandoned your own energy in the name of love, the wounds you tried to heal through someone else's transformation. It is not your punishment, it is your portal. The path out of entanglement begins with a single act: recognition. You must be willing to see the bond clearly, not through the lens of fantasy or obligation, but through the energy it creates in your life. Do you feel drained or empowered, contracted or expanded? Do you lose yourself in their storm, or do you remain grounded in your truth? Once you recognize the pattern, the next step is detangling. This is not about blame, it's about return. Returning to your field, to your breath, to your intuition. This process is not always loud. It is often quiet, painfully quiet. It may look like setting boundaries, like saying no without apology, like spending time alone to hear the frequency of your own soul again. It may mean pulling your energy back, piece by piece, from places you once poured without end. And it may mean grief, not just for the bond, but for the version of you that believed disappearing was the price of connection. You do not owe anyone your enmeshment. You do not need to lose your light to prove you love someone. True connection does not require sacrifice of self. It invites the full expression of self. If someone cannot meet you there, if they only feel safe when you shrink, only feel loved when you're exhausted, only feel close when you collapse into them, that is not love. That is entanglement. There's a reason ancient wisdom speaks of energetic cords. These threads are real, formed through emotional exchange, sexual connection, intense trauma, or karmic history. And while some cords nourish, others bind. Part of your spiritual journey is learning to recognize the cords that constrict and choosing to release them with compassion. Not with anger, but with sovereignty. Not with vengeance, but with clarity. Because cutting a cord is not cutting off love. It is releasing distortion so that love can breathe again. As you heal, you begin to retune your field. You learn to differentiate between chemistry and compatibility, between addiction and alignment. You begin to feel when someone's energy is pressing in too far, too fast. You learn to say, "This doesn't feel like safety, even if it looks like romance." You trust your body, you listen to your soul, you become whole, and in that wholeness, you will still love deeply, but no longer desperately. You will connect, but not collapse. You will hold space, but not sacrifice yourself as the container. Your field will be yours again, clear, sovereign, radiant. And from that place, true intimacy becomes possible. Because the kind of love your soul longs for cannot grow in entanglement. It only grows where there is space, breath, and the freedom to be fully, unapologetically you. So if you are tangled now, if you are listening to this and feeling the weight of someone else's energy wrapped around your ribs, breathe, place your hands over your heart, say gently, "I return to myself, I call my energy home," and trust that the soul who remembers its own frequency is never truly alone. You were never meant to fuse in order to feel worthy. You were meant to glow beside another, not within them. Let your light return. Let your energy uncoil. Let yourself be free. Part 7. The Mirror Effect. You only feel what you hold. There comes a moment on the spiritual path when the world stops being something you react to and begins to feel like something that's speaking to you. Not in symbols alone, but in reflections, in subtle echoes. In the uncanny way, people, situations, even conflicts begin to repeat themselves, not as punishment, but as patterns, mirrors. And what these mirrors reflect is not always beautiful. Sometimes it is rage, sometimes fear, sometimes neediness, pride, defensiveness, abandonment. But what if, beneath all discomfort, what you are seeing in others is simply an unrecognized version of yourself? This is the mirror effect. The energetic truth that the world reflects your frequency more than your words. That what you feel most intensely in others is often something unresolved, suppressed, or disowned within you. You are not just observing reality. You are perceiving it through the lens of your inner field, and that field is magnetic. It attracts what you need to face until you are ready to transmute it. And so, when you find yourself triggered, angry, jealous, or deeply unsettled by someone else's energy, the soul asks not, "What's wrong with them?" but "What are they showing me about myself?" This is not blame, this is sovereignty. Because the deeper truth is you only feel what you hold. That person's arrogance may feel unbearable because it mirrors your unclaimed desire to be seen. That person's silence may ignite your anxiety because it echoes your own avoidance of truth. That person's success may stir envy, not because you lack, but because a forgotten version of you still fears your own greatness. You are not reacting to them. You are reacting to the forgotten parts of yourself that their presence calls forward. The mirror doesn't lie, it reveals. At first, this realization is uncomfortable. You begin to see that your triggers are teachers, not enemies. That the pain others bring up in you is not always about them, it's about resonance. You're not being attacked, you're being activated. And the activation is sacred. It shows you where to look, where to tend, where to listen. Because beneath every sharp emotion is a message from the soul. Come home, heal this, reclaim this piece of yourself. When you begin to see others as mirrors, everything shifts. Conflict becomes curriculum. Rejection becomes redirection. Every irritation becomes a gateway into your own emotional terrain. That friend who never listens? Perhaps a mirror for where you've silenced your own voice. That partner who feels distant? Perhaps a reflection of your disconnection from your own needs. The world stops being chaotic, it becomes coherent. Each encounter a reflection, each discomfort a clue. But mirrors do not only show the shadow, they reflect your light as well. You are drawn to someone's compassion because it reflects your own tenderness. You feel awe in the presence of a wise soul because it stirs the ancient knowing that sleeps within you. You fall in love with someone's laughter, not just because it's beautiful, but because it reawakens the joy you forgot you carried. The mirror reflects both what is whole and what is hidden. And in seeing both, you begin to remember who you truly are. Still, it's easy to distort the mirror, to project instead of reflect, to make others responsible for your emotions, to use spirituality as a way to bypass the deeper work. But authentic mirror work is humble. It does not say, "You are the problem." It says, "What is this reaction revealing in me?" It does not shame emotion, it honors it. It does not demand perfection, it invites presence. This practice is not easy. It requires radical self-honesty, the willingness to look without flinching, to feel without defending, to stand in the fire of discomfort without turning away. But if you stay, if you breathe through the heat of your own shadows, you will discover something extraordinary. The triggers begin to soften, the emotional charge loses its grip. You begin to reclaim the fragments of yourself that you once abandoned for safety. And in doing so, you become whole. Wholeness is not the absence of shadow, it is the integration of it. It is the ability to see your jealousy and hold it with compassion, to meet your judgment with curiosity, to touch your insecurity and not collapse into it. The mirror becomes less threatening because it no longer reflects wounds. You've met those wounds already. It begins to reflect presence, peace, clarity. This is the power of mirror work. It doesn't just heal relationships, it shifts your frequency. As your inner field changes, so too does the outer world. You stop attracting people who mirror your pain. You begin meeting those who mirror your truth. You draw in resonance instead of repetition, intimacy instead of drama. Reflection becomes celebration, not confrontation, because you've learned to hold your own energy with love. And in that space, the world becomes less about fixing others and more about refining your own vibration. You stop trying to control outcomes. You begin to align with essence. You become less reactive, more responsive, less entangled, more embodied. You begin to understand that peace is not something others can give or take. It is something you learn to maintain through presence. So when the next mirror appears, and it will, pause. Don't judge, don't defend, just breathe and ask, what is this here to show me? You may not get the answer immediately, but the asking itself opens the field. It begins the shift. And with every mirror you meet with grace, you peel away another layer of distortion. You see a little more clearly. You love a little more honestly. You live a little more freely. Eventually, the mirror ceases to feel like confrontation and becomes communion. You no longer fear what others reflect because you have made peace with your own reflection. And that peace, that integration, that clarity, it ripples outward, changing not just your perception but your vibration. And in that shift, the world itself begins to reflect your evolution. You are no longer running from the mirror. You are becoming it. Clear, compassionate, true. Part 8. Energy hygiene, spiritual practices to reclaim your field. You bathe your body without thinking. You wash away the sweat of labor, the dust of streets, the scent of yesterday's hours. You tend to your skin because you see it. But what of the part of you that cannot be seen? The energy that surrounds you, the magnetic hum at the edge of your being, the subtle skin of your soul. It too gathers residue. And unlike physical dirt, the weight it holds is often invisible until it begins to suffocate. A heaviness after a tense conversation, a fogginess that clings after scrolling through tragedy, a strange exhaustion that follows you home from places you thought you loved. These are not moods. These are the quiet signals of a field asking to be cleansed. Energy hygiene is not a trend or a mystic indulgence. It is essential. It is spiritual maintenance. It is how the sensitive soul survives a world dense with emotion, distraction, and noise. Your energy body, your aura, your field, your spiritual skin is real. It wraps around you like a second atmosphere. It vibrates with your mood, your memory, your intention. And like any living membrane, it can become porous, perforated by unspoken tension, pierced by self-abandonment, weakened by forgetting. You are not wrong for feeling overwhelmed. You are not too fragile for the world. You are absorbing more than you realize, more often than you know. Every space you enter, every word you hear, every screen you watch, every thought you entertain, weaves into your field like thread. And unless you unravel what doesn't belong, your energy becomes a patchwork of everything and everyone else. So begin with awareness. Feel the space around you as real, not concept, sensation. Close your eyes, breathe. Notice where your presence ends and the world begins. Feel the texture of your field. Is it dense? Is it clear? Does it pulse or has it gone still? That subtle sensing is the first act of reclamation. You are not just a body, you are a field in motion, and fields must be tended. Movement clears stagnation. Shake the energy out. Dance with no choreography. Stretch with breath, not force. Let the body move how it wants, not how it looks. Let it shed what clings. Breath is medicine. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale longer than you think you can. Let each breath sweep through your nervous system like wind through old leaves. Imagine it clearing dust, not just from lungs, but from your light. Water is sacred technology, the earth's first mirror. Let it hold you. Let it wash more than skin. Bathe with salt. Add herbs. Add prayer. Let every drop remind you, I am not just cleansing the body, I am clearing what the eye cannot see. Speak aloud. I release what is not mine. I call my energy home, not as superstition, as remembering. Sound is vibration, and vibration is alignment. Use your voice, hum, chant, sigh. Use music that speaks to the marrow of you. Let singing bowls, flutes, bells shake loose what has no name. Let tones tune the subtle strings of your soul. Light candles not for ambiance but for frequency. Burn sage or rosemary not for show but for shift. The ancient ones knew. Smoke rises and carries with it what we no longer need. Let it rise. And when your heart feels tethered to something old, an ex-lover, a past pain, a psychic echo you can't seem to release, practice cord cutting. Not from bitterness but from reverence. Visualize the threads connecting you to another. Feel them stretch between you. Some golden, some gray, some pulsing with memory. See yourself gently cutting the cords that constrict. Not all connection is meant to last forever. Not all bonds are sacred just because they feel intense. Say aloud with love, I return your energy to you. I call my energy back to me, and then let go. Protection is not fear, it is clarity. Your aura is not meant to be a wall, but a filter. Visualize yourself surrounded by light, white, gold, indigo, or violet. Let it wrap you like breath. Let it breathe with you. Set the intention, only truth may enter. All distortion dissolves. This shield is not resistance, it is resonance. You are choosing what you tune into. You are remembering that just because energy is near does not mean it must be yours. And silence, sacred, deep, unapologetic silence, is the greatest cleanser of all. In a world addicted to stimulation, silence is your sanctuary. Sit in it. Let it burn through what is false. Let it draw up what you've buried. Let it return your attention inward, not to think, but to be. In silence, your energy recalibrates, your field settles, your spirit begins to sing again in a voice only you can hear. As this becomes your practice, you will begin to feel the difference between your energy and the noise. You'll know when you're grounded and when you're invaded. You'll sense when your thoughts are yours and when you've picked up the residue of someone else's despair. You'll feel when your field is cracked, and you'll know how to seal it with breath, with water, with truth. Energy hygiene is not a trend for mystics. It is a daily devotion to your sacred self. It is how you stay clear in a crowded world. It is how you honor your sensitivity not as flaw but as gift. Because when your field is clean, you become a tuning fork for others. You lift the room without trying. You calm storms just by being still. You remind others what their own peace feels like, not through your words, but through your vibration. So take care of your field like the temple it is, not once in a while, but daily. Wash what you cannot see. Release what you did not choose. Guard what is sacred, not with walls, but with love. Because the world doesn't need more light. It needs more light keepers, more souls who are clear, who are whole, who are awake in their own energy. And that begins with you, returning, cleansing, reclaiming your radiant, sovereign field, over and over again. Part 9. Creating boundaries without walls. We have been taught that to protect ourselves we must shut down, that to stay safe we must harden, that to avoid pain we must distance. And so we build walls, silent fortresses around our hearts, invisible armor around our energy. But these walls do not shield us. They isolate us. They do not preserve our power. They disconnect us from it. Because true protection, real spiritual sovereignty, does not come from shutting out the world. It comes from being so grounded in your own energy that the world can no longer shake you. Boundaries are not barriers, they are frequencies. They are the clear vibration of self-knowing. When your field is strong and your truth is rooted, you do not need to defend. You only need to declare, not with resistance, not with conflict, but with quiet, radiant clarity. This is where I end and you begin. This is what I allow. This is what I release. Boundaries begin with awareness. You must know your own energy to know when it is being compromised. You must feel your own center before you can feel when someone pulls you off course. It starts in the body, a tightening in the chest, a hesitation before a yes, a weight in your gut after a conversation. These are not small things, they are the body's language of truth. Learn to listen. Every energetic trespass is preceded by a signal. The question is never, did it happen? The question is, did I listen to the moment it began? Most people do not intend to violate your field. They simply live unaware of their own. They push too far because they don't know how to contain their emotion. They ask too much because they don't yet know how to self-soothe. They speak too loud because silence terrifies them. And if your field is open, if your boundaries are built from guilt or fear of conflict, you absorb what is not yours. You carry burdens that are not meant for your hands. You say yes to avoid discomfort and wonder why your soul feels crowded. But boundaries are not about control, they are about containment. Not the containment of others, but the containment of your own energy. When you hold yourself fully, when you stop leaking through over-explaining, over-giving, over-fixing, you become solid, you become still. And from that stillness, boundaries arise naturally, not as rules, but as resonance. People feel them. They feel your self-respect. They sense your clarity. You no longer need to push them back. Your energy speaks before your mouth does. To create boundaries without walls, you must release the idea that love means access, that care means availability, that kindness means self-abandonment. You can love someone and still say no. You can be compassionate and still close the door. You can hold space for others without letting them occupy your entire house. Boundaries are not rejection. They are sacred architecture. They are how your soul says, I matter too. But boundaries are not about control. They are about containment. Not the containment of others, but the containment of your own energy. When you hold yourself fully, When you stop leaking through over-explaining, over-giving, over-fixing, you become solid, you become still. And from that stillness, boundaries arise naturally, not as rules, but as resonance. People feel them. They feel your self-respect. They sense your clarity. You no longer need to push them back. Your energy speaks before your mouth does. To create boundaries without walls, you must release the idea that love means access, that care means availability, that kindness means self-abandonment. You can love someone and still say no. You can be compassionate and still close the door. You can hold space for others without letting them occupy your entire house. Boundaries are not rejection. They are sacred architecture. They are how your soul says, I matter too. And the most powerful boundaries are subtle. They do not scream, they do not punish. They are not reactions. They are decisions, made in silence, honored in presence. You simply begin to step away from chaos. You no longer engage with manipulation. You leave the room when the energy feels off. You speak less when your truth is not being received. You do not defend what you know to be real. You preserve your peace like fire, warm to those who honor it, untouchable to those who don't. Energetic boundaries can also be spiritual practices. Before entering a crowded space, visualize a radiant sphere of light around you. Before a difficult conversation, ground your body. Breathe into your belly. Speak only when your words arise from center, not from emotion. After emotional exchanges, release what is not yours. Place your hand on your heart and say, I return to myself. I call back all energy I've given away unconsciously. I release all that is not mine to carry. Make this a daily devotion, not because you're weak, but because you're sacred. And remember, boundaries do not mean you are hard. They mean you are clear. They do not mean you stop loving. They mean you love wisely. Because love without boundaries is not compassion, it is consumption. And when you let others feed endlessly on your energy, you are not being kind, you are disappearing. Boundaries are how you stay visible, how you stay true, how you remain soft and strong at once. In time, you will find that the more clearly you hold your field, the less you need to defend it. The more you own your vibration, the less others try to control it. People will feel your integrity. Some may be drawn closer, others may fall away. Let them. Boundaries are filters, not fences. They clarify who is meant to walk beside you and who is simply passing through. So stop apologizing for needing space. Stop shrinking to be digestible. Stop allowing access to your soul like it is a public garden for anyone to trample. You are not here to be open to everything. You are here to be aligned with what is true, with what is nourishing, with what honors your spirit. To hold a boundary is to honor the divinity in you. To say, I am not here to be drained. I am here to be light. And that light requires structure, requires protection, requires rhythm. This is not selfishness, it is self-respect. You can hold open arms and still keep a sacred gate. You can open your heart without leaving your soul unguarded. You can love fully and protect fiercely. This is not contradiction, this is mastery. Part 10. Soulful encounters, when energy heals instead of hurts. There are moments when someone enters your life and something in you exhales. No explanation, no grand beginning, just a sense of here, I can rest here. Their presence doesn't demand anything, it doesn't rush in or consume. It simply offers space, a silent permission to be exactly who you are without shrinking, without performing, without fear. These are not ordinary encounters. These are soulful ones, when energy doesn't collide, doesn't drain, doesn't confuse, but instead heals. After the noise, after the chaos, after the years of learning boundaries and reclaiming your field, comes this sacred return to connection. Real connection, not enmeshment, not trauma bond, but resonance. A vibration that harmonizes with your own, not because it is identical, but because it is clear. You recognize it by the way your body responds, your chest loosens, your breath deepens, your thoughts quiet. You don't need to figure them out, you don't need to prove yourself, you just are. And in that presence, your soul begins to glow again. These encounters are rare, not because they are mystical, but because they require readiness. You cannot receive nourishing energy when you are still addicted to chaos. You cannot be met deeply until you've met yourself. The path to soulful connection is not about seeking others. It's about healing the parts of you that once chased intensity, confusion, and emotional hunger. And when that healing takes root, When your field becomes coherent and sovereign, you begin to draw in different reflections, souls who are not there to stir your wounds but to witness your wholeness. There's a softness in these connections, a quiet depth. You speak less, yet say more. You sit in silence, yet feel seen. You disagree, yet love does not leave the room. These people don't try to fix you. They don't shrink in your light. They do not ask for more than you can give. They simply meet you, vibrationally, spiritually, emotionally. And that meeting is the medicine. You'll know them not by intensity, but by intimacy. Not by excitement, but by ease. Not by spark, but by safety. Because healing energy doesn't shout, it soothes. It doesn't entangle, it honors. You will find yourself becoming more yourself in their presence, not molding, not adjusting, not explaining. You will laugh more freely, cry more openly, create without censorship. And in that spaciousness you realize, this is what connection was meant to feel like. It could be a friend, a mentor, a partner, even a stranger. The form doesn't matter, the energy does. They carry a frequency that aligns with yours, not because it's perfect, but because it's present. Because they have done their own work, they don't need you to complete them. They don't ask you to dim so they can shine. Their field does not seek to pull yours in. It stands beside you, clear and calm, like two notes in a sacred chord. And you too begin to offer the same, no longer needing to fix, to save, to overextend. You hold your light without apology. You love without leaking. You give from fullness, not emptiness. And in doing so, you become a healer by presence, not effort. Your field becomes a blessing, your presence, a refuge. You are no longer someone who is drained by the world, you are someone who brings coherence to it. This is what happens when energy heals instead of hurts. When connection is born not of need, but of truth. When love is no longer an escape, but a homecoming. Soulful encounters are sacred not because they last forever, but because they change us. They remind us of what's possible. They recalibrate our standards. They show us that we can be both held and free, seen and still sovereign, deeply loved, yet fully ourselves. And sometimes they don't come to stay. Sometimes they pass through like comets, brilliant, brief, unforgettable. That too is sacred, because soul doesn't measure time, it measures resonance. And even a moment of true connection can echo for a lifetime. So if you have known this kind of meeting, cherish it. Let it live in your memory not as something lost, but as something that awakened you. Let it be the frequency you remember when you forget your worth. Let it be the reminder that you are not too much, that your depth is not a burden, that your clarity is not a weapon, that there are people, souls who will meet you exactly where you are and celebrate every layer of your becoming. And if you have not yet known this kind of connection, do not despair. It is not withheld from you. It is waiting for you, waiting for your frequency to clear, for your heart to soften without collapsing, for your boundaries to strengthen without hardening, for your soul to become so anchored in itself that it no longer chases love, it attracts it. Because when your energy is aligned, the right souls will find you, effortlessly, authentically, beautifully. And you will no longer ask, will they see me? You will know without doubt, they already do. Because the energy that heals doesn't ask for proof, it simply holds space. And in that space you will remember the truth. You were never broken. You were always whole. And now, finally, you are being seen by someone who recognizes the light in you as their own. Now you know. You are a field, a galaxy of light, emotion, memory, and soul. You are not just tired, you are sensing. You are not just overwhelmed, you are absorbing. And you are not weak, you are awake. The exhaustion you feel around certain people is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Because to own your energy is to own your life. Every day you choose who you allow into your field, what you hold, what you release. You are not meant to carry the storm of another. You are here to shine your own weather, to bless, not bleed, to feel, not fuse, to witness, not wither. So breathe, cleanse, and remember your energy is sacred terrain. Guard it with grace, honor it like a temple, and walk forward knowing you don't have to dim just because someone else forgot how to glow. Stay luminous, stay sovereign, stay you. If this video stirred something deep within you, something ancient, something true, don't let it fade. Like, subscribe, and share it with the souls still seeking light in a world of noise. This message might be the mirror someone else needs. Help them find it. Help them find themselves.